Hello everyone and welcome to our next lesson. Just a reminder that I originally developed this course for the BANGTAN Academy Discord community, so if you'd like to find out more, please follow them on Twitter at @BangtanAcademy_, so you can get access to other materials and make friends to study with. You can also find me on Twitter at writer_court or on thebtseffect.com. Hello and welcome to Learn Korean with BTS Chapter 4. So let's go ahead and get started with page 80. So as per usual, after the lecture, or go ahead and pause the lecture and be sure to scan the video and complete the first exercise on this page, and then go back with your language pen later on and practice what you hear on this page as well as throughout the book. So you can see here today we are learning places. That's 장소. That can be a dress or a place. So we have a bunch of different places here on this page, and I'll read them really quickly and then be sure to go back with your language pen afterwards. So we have 공항, which is airport, 카페, which is cafe, hotel, hotel, 마트, mart, 시장, which is also kind of like a market. They're a little bit different. You can see with the pictures in the book. 식당, restaurant, 화장실, bathroom, 편의점, convenience store, 입구, entrance, 출구, exit, 백화점, which is like a larger department store, 지하철역, which is actually kind of two words put together. So we have 지하철, which is a subway, and then we have 역, which is a station. So 지하철역, that Ryo consonant carries over to the 역, so it's more smushed together when you say it. And finally, we have 버스 정류장. So this is, of course, 버스 in Korean, sounds like the English bus. And then it's written 정류장, but due to pronunciation rules, it actually sounds like a nian instead of a riol. So 정류장, 정류장. So we can see the key expression this time around is a location particle with verbs. So we have blank 가요. So is our location marking particle. This translates roughly to, to go to blank. So this particle is marking a location that something exists or a place that you can go to or come from. That's mainly how it's used, is going to or coming from a place. And so 가다 will indicate that the subject is moving from the speaker's current site to another site. So like you're going somewhere, and so the subject is moving, away from the speaker instead of towards the speaker. So if the subject is actually coming towards the speaker or to the same site where the speaker is, you would actually use 오다 instead. So that's just a difference between 가다 to go, 오다 to come. And that will make a little more sense with some examples that we're going to go through here. So on page 83, we see some examples of this, and the first one here is 마트에 가요. So 마트에 가요, go to the market, or to go to the mart, I should say, not market. And so that, of course, doesn't have any subject written in there. You could just say that yourself. If you just say 마트에 가요, that means you're going to the mart. And they give you the example sentence of 저는 친구하고 마트에 가요. So this introduces 하고. 하고 is a way to say and that attaches to a noun in this case. So 친구, of course, is friend, and we attach 하고, which means I'm going with a friend to the mart, or I'm going to the mart with a friend. It doesn't matter what order is there in English. But yeah, 저는 친구하고 마트에 가요. I'm going to the mart with a friend. So 하고 can be attached to any sort of noun, and it doesn't matter if that noun ends in a consonant or a verb. You can still use 하고, and you can put 하고 in a sentence more than once, but I've also seen that it's common to put 하고 only one time and then continue listing out your nouns, but I have seen it done both ways. I've heard that listing it once is more common though. So our second example sentence is 한국에 와요. 한국에 와요. So to come to Korea. And the example sentence they give you is 제 친구가 한국에 와요. So 제 is highlighted here because we haven't learned that yet. So instead of 저는, because that one is saying as for me, I'm going to the mart with a friend. This one is saying 제 친구, so my friend. So 제 is the formal way, like the formal version of saying my. So it's a possessive for yourself, your personal pronoun. So 제 친구 is my friend, and then 한국에 와요. So my friend is coming to Korea. I guess it's hard to really translate that because it is present tense, but there is another way to say is coming, and we wouldn't say has come because it's not past tense. So this is just present tense to illustrate how the sentence works. But later on, when you learn past tense, it'll make a little more sense using it in a sentence like this. But for now, just practice with present tense. So 제 친구가 한국에 와요. So my friend comes to Korea. And so this is implying that the speaker is also in Korea because as I've written here in parentheses, 제 친구가 한국에 가요 means my friend is going to Korea. So for example, I live in the United States. If my friend is going to Korea, I would use the second option. I would say 제 친구가 한국에 가요. My friend is going to Korea because they're moving away from me in America and going to Korea, or they could live, in Canada or somewhere else. They're going to Korea. And if I already lived in Korea, I would say 제 친구가 한국에 와요. So my friend comes to Korea instead of my friend goes to Korea. So I hope that makes sense. If that doesn't, be sure to just, ask in the chat. We can talk about it some more. So on page 82, the first conversation that we get is 오늘 우리 어디에 가요? So this 오늘 is today. 우리 is we. 어디 is where. 에 is the location particle, and of course 가요 for go. So 오늘 우리 어디에 가요? Where are we going today? And then person B says 광화문에 가요. So 광화문에 가요. We're going to 광화문. So 광화문 is actually like a plaza. There's a station, there's a plaza. It's several different things. So yeah, the things to look for here are 어디, which is where, and then 어디에 is like where to. So where are we going? You have to attach that 에. So they mentioned going to Gwanghwamun, so I just threw in a couple of pictures here that I took because I thought it was funny that I took a picture of that statue, and that's like what they show you in the book on page 81. That's what the drawing is of. It's this giant statue of King Sejong, and so you can see written on the front of the statue is Sejong Daewang. So Sejong, so of course his name. Daewang is like a great king, so it's like the great King Sejong. And this statue is like in the middle of Gwanghwamun Gwangjang, which is always a mouthful. So Gwanghwamun is the name of the plaza. It's also the name of a subway station. And then Gwangjang is like plaza or square. So this is like a big plaza square. You can see there's traffic on either side, and you can just walk through this area and actually walk straight down to one of the big palaces. And actually, you can't see it from this photo, but there is an entry somewhere, I forget exactly where, on the statue, like on the lower part of the statue, there's an entryway, and you go down, and there's actually a museum about King Sejong, and there's like a gift store and a restaurant and just all sorts of stuff down there. And I had no idea that all that stuff was under there when I first went to this plaza. So that's really cool. The statue on the right is in front of King Sejong, so you can't see it in the first picture, but that is actually Admiral Lee Sun-shin. That's Lee Sun-shin, I believe, and he was a naval admiral. That's why he has a little boat on his statue, and there's all these water spigots everywhere because he fought in naval battles in, I think, 1500s, something like that. So these two statues are in Gwanghwamun Gwangjang. So now let's look at the second key expression. So this is 으세요, which is actually another verb conjugation. So we have learned already present tense yo form, which is polite language. This is also polite language. It's a little more formal, but you would use it with regular yo form because this is actually, not just present tense neutral statement. It is a command or a requirement of someone. So you are sort of politely making a command or a request. And so you can see here I've listed out some conjugations that they give you in the book. And so we have 으세요 for verbs that end in a consonant, and we have 세요 for verbs that end in a vowel. So first we have 찍다, which becomes 찍으세요, and this means to take a picture. So the word for picture is 사진, and so the example that they've given you is 사진을 찍으세요. 사진을 찍으세요. So please take a picture, either of me or for me or whatever the context is. The next verb, anta means to sit down. And so if we conjugate this, it ends in a consonant, so it becomes 앉으세요, 앉으세요. And this is another instance where there are two ending consonants. So when you conjugate it like this, that jiet, the second consonant, carries over to the vowel sound. So we have 앉으세요. So you do get both consonant sounds in there. And the example they've given you is please sit on this chair or just a chair. So 의자에 앉으세요. 의자에 앉으세요. The next one is 보다. So that means to look, to see, to watch. And that one just becomes 보세요. 보세요 because it ends in a vowel. So we just attach the 세요. And the example they've given you is 여기를 보세요. So please look here. If you're familiar with BTS song, there is one called Yogi Ba, and so Ba is less, a casual form of look. So of course, the more polite form is Payo, but they're using casual Yogi Ba, which means like look here. So it's similar, but this is a more formal, polite way to say that. The next one is 기다리바, which means to wait. And since this ends in a vowel, again, we just add the 세요. So we get 기다리세요, which means to please wait. The example they've given is 입구에서 기다리세요. So 입구 is the entrance of something. It doesn't specify what the entrance is. And then we attach 에 for the location particle. And you'll notice here we also have another syllable, 서. So instead of 에, we have 에서, which I assume they're going to teach us in a future lesson. But since I don't know that for sure, I'll explain it briefly here. Basically, we have 에 and we have 에서. And 에 can be used for 가다 and 오다, and it can be used for verbs like 있다 and 없다. But usually when an action is occurring at a place, you have to attach 에서. So it's just a difference in particles. So this one is saying to please wait at the entrance. So the waiting is occurring at this location of the entrance. So we would say 에서. So again, they'll probably go into that later, but just in case they don't, that's a quick explanation. So then we have irregular verbs. So the first one is 만들다, 만들다. So this becomes 만드세요, 만드세요. This verb means to make or create, and you drop the 리을 and just add 세요. That's just this irregular verb. And the example sentence is 아이디를 만드세요, 아이디를 만드세요. So ID here is not like, a physical ID. It's like an ID that you would log into a website with, sort of like a screen name or something like that. So it's ID를 만드세요 is to like make a login or a screen name or something on a website. And then a digit irregular verb for 듣다, which is to listen or hear. We change the digit to 릴 and then add 으세요. So change the digit first to 릴, we get 들, and then of course we have to add 으세요 because it ends in a consonant. So it becomes 들으세요, 들으세요. And the example sentence they have given us is 노래를 들으세요. So please listen to a song. 노래를 들으세요. And then on page 86, we have the full dialogue that takes place between these three people. So the first person says, 오늘 우리 어디에 가요? Where are we going today? Second person says, 광화문에 가요. We're going to 광화문. And then the third person says, 거기에 광화문 광장하고 경복궁이 있어요. So that's 거기에, which means there, and with location particle. 광화문 광장, which is like plaza, 광화문 plaza. 하고, so and. 경복궁, which is Gyeongbok Palace, which is behind that King Sejong statue. It's a little further down that road. And then 있어요 for there exists or there is. So 거기에 광화문 광장하고 경복궁이 있어요. So try reading that sentence really fast because I just got tongue-tied about 6 times. So then the third person says 저기 세종대왕이 있어요. So they're talking about that statue. They see the statue, and they're probably pointing to it saying 저기, so like over there. 저기 세종대왕이 있어요. And then another person says 우리 사진을 찍어요. So like we should take a picture. It doesn't say should, but we haven't learned that yet. So just we'll take a picture. And then another person says 여기를 보세요. So like look here for the picture. So real quick, I'll also cover the second dialogue that appears on page 87. This is right before you get into the exercises. And you can play this with a language pen, but I just wanted to explain a couple of quick things. So the first person again says 오늘 어디에 가요? So where are we going today? They leave out we because that's implied. If there's, two people and you've met up, it's like, okay, where are we going today? You don't have to say we. You can go ahead and admit it and just say 오늘 어디에 가요? And then the second person says 미술관에 가요. So that's like an art museum or art gallery. 미술관에 가요. And then the first person asks a stranger on the street, judging by the picture that we're given, they don't know necessarily where the location is. So they say 실례합니다, which is a polite way to say excuse me. So you can say 저기요, but 실례합니다 is more polite, more formal. So it's excuse me, and then 여기 미술관이 어디에 있어요? So where is the art gallery or art museum that is here? So that one exists in that area, but you don't know exactly where it is. So you're stopping somebody on the street to basically ask for directions and say, is it here? Where is it? So 여기 미술관이 어디에 있어요? And then the person answers 저기로 가세요. So this is another grammar point that's new, this 로. So it's actually 으로. So if it ends in a consonant, you would use 으로, and if it ends in a vowel, you just use 로. And so this grammar point can attach to things in a couple different ways, but the way we're seeing it here is it's attaching to 저기, so like over there. So it's saying to go over there, like by means of, it kind of means like by means of. So you attach it to this location, and you're telling the person to go in this direction or like to go over to this area. So 저기로 가세요. So like go over that way, please go over that way. So the implication there is like, it's over there, so go in that direction. So that's why we have the 로 there. Okay, so that's it for chapter 4. Of course, I will leave the pages for your exercises and your quiz on the classroom, and then we might have some supplements that are related to maybe the previous chapter, and I'll try to give you a worksheet that reinforces some of this stuff. So as always, ask questions in the chat if you have any, and I will see you in the next one.